Today we're going to recreate the legendary Pooh volcano. So the first thing we're going to need is a little bit more land. Actually, a lot more land, so we can have our creative liberties. And then of course we need the volcano itself. Brush size up, because we believe in big numbers here on this channel. And why would we need to wait? That's actually a really strong brush. So from there we just carefully need to make a perfect circle. Yep, that'll about do it. I just hope it's big enough. Yeah, now that I zoom out, I think it's big enough. For a quick comparison, here's a massive skyscraper and there's a volcano. But we're not ready for this yet. Next we need to find a way to get people up here so they can produce the sewage we need to fill the hole. And for that, I'm going to use a massive 6-lane road so we can move as many people as possible. And then we're just very slowly, very patiently going to ring our way all the way around the volcano. This road in itself would be considered one of the great wonders of the world and rival the very best theme parks in the world because it would be absolutely terrifying. We've officially made it to the top. I'm not sure why the road enters a tunnel to spit you down over the edge, but we'll let the people figure that out. Also, for some reason, I can actually zone this steep edge, so I want to see if people actually live there. Okay, they have to do a little bit of their own landscaping, but apparently they're perfectly fine to live there. But imagine this being your commute to work every day. They're already asking for it. They need somewhere for their sewer to go. A sewage outlet costs only $25 and makes your hopes and dreams come true. So we just plug that into the existing structure, and before you know it, our dreams are started. It's got its work cut out for it, but we're gonna have a pretty big city, so this won't be a problem. Speaking of which, we need a few more houses up here. And there's all sorts of road options to work with, so we're gonna just start building away to see what we wind up with. This curving road actually fits the design of the volcano great, because it's actually gonna make what looks like a manicured road. Until it starts doing things like this, but that's okay. You know what? If you want to have some real excitement, you'll drive right over the Pooh volcano. And just like that, our road network is established. Looks like the next thing we need is some power. Since we're going to have a big city, we're going to jump right to the big guns with a nuclear power plant. It takes up a lot of room, but we have a little bit of extra room to spare. Then it seems we need to plug the power wires into existing power wires. The slope is too steep, but if I bring it far enough over, it should lessen the slope and therefore be valid. It's perfect. I designed that to work just like that, so we wouldn't have to do any messing around. We could just build everything in one straight shot. I also didn't know I could make those float, so we're in a world of magic. But apparently the people still need power, despite the fact they have a massive nuclear plant right beside them. All it needed was one little power line to connect it to the grid. Now the people have more than enough power, all in pursuit of this. It's only been a few minutes with like 6 houses, but these people produce a lot of waste. One thing I maybe didn't consider so hard was how to get water up here. And they have literally high rent. There is a groundwater pumping station. That could come in handy provided there is some water up here, and there is. And if we're really lucky, it'll soak up some of the Pooh water from down below. I'm going to go ahead and place a few of these because we're going to need a lot of water up here. We're basically going to put it right back to the earth anyway. They need roads? Why does everywhere need a road? Apparently we've already overused the groundwater reservoir. I guess this thing probably takes a lot of water to cool down. I never really factored that in either. But I can't help but notice there's a really big water over there. So we're going to build an advanced water pumping station. This should have the juice we need to get up the hill. And for some reason, I am allowed to tie that directly into our nuclear plant for like $5,000. In exchange, it just wants a little bit of power and road. It looks like in order to build my underground pipe network, the game went ahead and added a little bit of land. And I never realized how wild our road actually is on the way up to the volcano. And then what's the fun of having a giant volcano if we don't have a giant city to dump all that water on? So let's see if we can use this new grid feature to make a giant city grid. The game has to be pretty flat to make that work. It does not like this feature one bit. We can make some of it work. And for the rest, luckily I'm a professional landscaper, so if we just do some of this will probably work out just fine. We can even work around our pillars probably. That's a lot better. We'll be able to fit some big grids in there. The trick is jiggling things around until the red stuff disappears, and then it'll let you do whatever you want. The perfect efficient grid city. My water pump needed more power, so I've added a solar thing way over here, and that also produces sewage, so this is good. Now that I've got the solar panel tied in, the pump station is working. Apparently we're still struggling to get the water up to here, but that's alright because the water is still leaving and that's all that matters. There's a plane flying in my volcano because this is actually so high up. The planes are flying at half the height of the volcano. Anyways, we have a lot of demand for more stuff, so we need to add a whole bunch more people. I've got to put high density housing on the outside. We don't want to block the skyline view. The more people we have, the more waste we'll produce. This is going to work out great. Building a city from here is going to be easy. We just wait till the people complain, then add what they're complaining about. And interestingly, the sewage is still backed up, so we need more outlets. Now I can't help but wonder if more sewage outlets mean more sewage outing. Because now we have 5 of those pipes going, so that's 5 times the sewage filling up our volcano. Which can probably hold a few liters, but once we get a big city going, this should be easy. And if people want to see this work of art, they've got a nice viewpoint to look at it from. I can't really zoom in any closer, but a lot of those outlets are actually going. Now we need to find a way to entice people to get up here. They built such nice big buildings right on the edge of a 10,000 foot drop. How very secure of them. We're gonna go ahead and put a few medical clinics around. Someone's bound to fall off the edge, so in theory I should really put one of these at the bottom. And I forgot I need a cemetery. We're inevitably gonna need one of those. And for some reason it lets me put it right there. So you've got to be very, very careful when you dig your hole because the body you bury might slide down into the volcano. But that's just sort of the risk you're gonna have to take when you live in my world. So far it's actually shaping up way better than I thought it would. And the people so far are loving this. The demand is going up and up. We're going to add an elementary school right to the very edge of the volcano. That should help weed out some of the weakest kids. If they fall off the edge, well, that's one less kid to worry about. We currently have a lack of labor, so we need more jobs. I'm going to add all sorts of emergency services. Most importantly, we're going to need a fire watch tower. Just in case we get a fire up here, we'll get to it immediately. One of the problems we may face along the way is the water down here, the sewage, does not seem to make it up there for some reason. Presumably because gravity exists. So it might be up to the fine residents up here on top of the volcano to fill this thing up. But I'm hoping if I manually add some of these giant towers, that's going to help bring the population density up, because who wouldn't want to live in these? Look at the size of that thing. I forced in a bunch of very high density buildings that should hopefully bring the population up top. And I sadly have had to add a sewer outlet down here just so these businesses could function properly. Maybe part of the problem is the transportation. People have to take this very sketchy road to get up to the fun place. So I'm going to add things like a bus station up and down, that way people can move around easily. The best part is, all this messing around we're doing with our city is passing time, and that means our lake is getting bigger. We do run into some technical problems here and there, like my incineration plant or whatever wasn't connected to power, so I had to do some creative engineering to tie it back into the power grid. But things like this are exactly why I'm the right man for the job. I think it's time we start filling out the city below. That will entice people up to the top. And we've got lots of room to build in, so we'll give the people whatever they want. And to entice people to come to my horrible city, we're going to put a few nice parks around. That's going to make it seem like nothing's wrong at all. See, now there's as much green as there is red. People are going to love this city. I'm also going to turn on some policies like city promotion. That's going to have people visiting this city more, producing more waste. Taxi minimum fee is also going down to $1. We're also going to drop the tax rate to -10%. We're going to start paying people to live here. That should cause a boom. We're literally paying people to live in our terrible city now, so how bad could it really be? There's a lack of jobs, but you don't need a job when we're paying you. We have a rather giant demand for office zones right now, so we're going to go ahead and throw some of that in everywhere. And the reverse taxes are working. The people are piling in. What we really need are more sewage outlets. It turns out these are super annoying and tedious to place. But I've got time if you do. The city is slowly expanding down below. I've added all the appropriate fire, education, and police services. Not entirely sure what happened here. There's a stone monument I wasn't allowed to move apparently. Now that we have our needs mostly satisfied, let's figure out how to get a tram up the volcano. I can already tell that this is just going to be a lot of fun. Try as I might, I don't know if I can actually get a tram there. Mostly because the nuclear power plant has created some steep edges for us. But now I'm kind of wondering that if I make sort of an intermediary volcano over here, if I can use that to bridge some of these slopes that are too high for the game. So with a little careful leveling, we might be able to send people to this landing and then all the way to the top of the volcano. Alarmingly, that actually worked. That is a 5-lane, one-way highway that'll bring people to the top of the volcano, where they're stuck. Things needed a few wraps here to make it work, but now we have a 5-lane highway going straight to the top. And already there is a ton of traffic using it. That's perfect. They're going to go right to the top. I actually can't believe how many trucks are using that. I don't know why they're going there. That's not even a big volcano. That's the best part. Imagine having to drive one of these big trucks straight up this thing in the snow and rain. 10,000 feet elevation and not a guardrail in sight. And then you get up here only to realize you can't take that highway down. You've got to take the sketchy little one. You know what? I think I understand now. There is a lack of high-skilled labor up here. What they're saying is they need a university, so we're gonna squeeze one in up here. I never realized how big these things were. Never seen one in real life. I suspect those things will also produce a lot of waste. Seems like a lot of people up here are having air pollution issues. I suspect that's because there's a nuclear plant here. And also their city is in the cloud level, so all the pollution is literally rising up and suffocating them. Also, it looks like the wind up here tends to blow like that way, which means everyone here is directly getting the fumes of the nuclear plant. And I've just realized if I turn up my water and sewage budget, it will affect the efficiency of water output. So I think if I turn this up, everything's going to work more efficiently. That means more water in and more water out. And if I turn this service fee this way, water consumption goes up and company efficiency goes up, so that means more water coming out. Then the rest of these I'm just turning all the way green, that way everyone's happy to move in and everything works very expensively. We need more population up top though, so I'm going to add whatever little roads in to fill in every last little bit of space up here. Look how deep this thing's getting. It's working. Slowly but surely, our beautiful city is expanding and growing. There's new neighborhoods popping up all over the place. This whole time, my city had basically been without internet, so now I'm going to install a very, very expensive satellite uplink. I like how when replacing these, it gives you what's called a yellow warning. It just tells you shouldn't do it, not that you can't. The game would like to inform me that these are not on the shoreline, but they're going to be one day. This is a mighty lake. While trying to connect all those sewage lines together, I accidentally did this, but that's a feature, not a bug. I can't help but wonder how much the game is going to love having this much poo water filling this volcano ultimately. I've now learned something new and very important. You can actually pump the sewer water uphill, and you can pump it a long way uphill. The sewer is actually coming from the giant city, going all the way up there. So I've deleted the sewer outlets here, and we're pumping the sewer from all of this city up into our volcano now. And that's perfect because now we don't have to try and force people up onto the volcano quite so much. It's now been almost 12 hours since we started this little project. I've changed the graphic settings a little bit to try and get some extra frames. The hole isn't yet filled with water, but it's actually getting there. I set a building earlier as sort of as a dipstick to watch the water level rise. It collapsed into water, but the water came way up. And surprisingly, my city is very desirable, so we can put even more people here for even more sewage. And we have all this available real estate, it would be a shame not to use it. I try and build an absolute disaster of a city with a volcano made of human feces, and I actually end up apparently creating a very desirable place to live. At this point, the frames keep dropping and it keeps stuttering, so I can't even level the ground smoothly. And in case you're wondering just how big of a grid you can lay down, it seems like that is my limit. Oh good, the rain's starting. I was just thinking the game is starting to behave properly again. Since we need all kinds of green zone, we're gonna give the game all kinds of green zone. Well, it can't hurt to have more people living under the shadow of the Pooh volcano. I decided we needed more sewage outlets as well, so I installed a few between the rainstorms. And it really is quite a sight to behold, my beautiful city. Sometimes I get demotivated because it doesn't feel like there's that much water in here. But then I look at it from this perspective, and these are literally giant full-grown trees, and they are completely submerged, and it only goes deeper from there. I think I might have finally found a way to make this go quicker. If I'm understanding this correctly, we have an excess of output of water, so we can actually add a lot more sewage to our system without issue. Mostly because we have 10,000 outlets. So by connecting our sewage to an outside city, that means as long as we have room, we will take in other people's sewage. At least that's my very tired understanding of it at this point. Well, after some experimenting, I'm beginning to think that sewage is export only, so we can't bring in the neighbors, which is very sad. I know this because I hooked all of these outlets only up to a neighboring city, so none of mine goes in here. So that should be nothing but pure excess and nothing's flowing out from the neighbors. I'm beginning to think we need to change up our plan a little bit because it's taken 12 hours to get 1/100th of the way full with water, and I'm being generous when I use that estimation. So basically what we're going to do now is shrink the hole so that way it fills up faster. It's too big of an area, there's too much volume. I imagine this in itself is going to be a little bit of a disaster. I put the brush strength only to 50 for now, that way we can slowly bring it up and not ruin things too badly. So I now very carefully need to bring the elevation up to here, that way the water can still flow onto this, but then eventually down into the deep hole that's going to be over there. It does sadden me deeply to have had to do this, but we don't have any other choice. I can't make this video take 100 years. I need a Pooh volcano now. To be fair, that's a cool little fountain feature we've installed. This is probably still going to take 12 hours to do. Well, now we just sit back and relax and come back and check on it in 12 hours. You know what? Before we go, I think I need to give this a little bit of a relief valve. The water is already spreading over the top surface at least. Basically, once the water hits this elevation, it's going to be able to freely flow this way. We just got to make a few careful maneuvers in between, but eventually we'll have a nice poo falls right over the edge. Almost 12 hours later, and I'm not disappointed with the results. I think what's most surprising of all is people are still living up here. This is the worst place in the universe to live. It's starting to rain very lightly, so game performance is dropping rapidly once again. But I did get my population up to 80,000, and all I was trying to do was make a poo volcano. So maybe we'll come back to this one when there's some mods to make it really work properly.